Alright, so here we are on lesson 16, Symmetry in the Coordinate Plane. So we're actually going to skip this whole first page of your notes, so I want you to flip over to the next page, which should look like this. It should say example 1, and there's a graph and a table here. So we're going to start with this, and the first thing it says to do is to locate and label the following points on the coordinate plane to the right. So the points are down here at the bottom in this green part, and I'm going to label them with letters. So the point 3, 4 is going to be point A. Point -3, 4 will be B. And then we've got a repeat here. This is A, 3, 4 in the next column. And then 3, -4 is going to be C. And then again I have 3, 4 here, which is A. And then my last point, -3, -4 is going to be D. Alright, so make sure you pause for a second, have those points labeled, and then I'm going to put them on the graph here. So I have 3 up to 4. This is A. And then B was -3, so to the left, and then up to 4. This is B. C, make sure my colors match up, was 3, over to 3 to the right, down to -4. This is going to be C here. And then my last one, D, is -3 down to -4 over here on the left. Alright, so we're going to use that picture, and now we're just going to fill in some observations that we see comparing the two. So, in the first column, we're looking at A and B. So it asks about the similarities of the coordinates, and if we look at them, we see, just by looking at the numbers, that they have the same y coordinates. So that's what you're going to put in the box. Same y, oh boy, coordinates. Alright, and then if we look at the difference, we can see that the x coordinates are different, but then let's also remember that they're opposites. So you're going to put that x coordinates opposites. Alright, so the x coordinates are opposites. Alright, and then we're going to skip the similarities in location and the differences in location, and then we're just going to look at this last box here. So they're asking about the relationship between the coordinates on the plane. So we're going to start talking about reflections, and if you look back up here from point A to point B, they're pretty much in the same spot, just in two different coordinates, but we're going to say that point A is reflected, so it's jumped over the y-axis. So that's what you're going to put in the box down here. We're going to say reflected over the y-axis. Alright, so that's pretty much all we're doing here. We're going to do the last two columns though. Alright, now we're looking at A and we're looking at C here. So, similarities, if we're looking just at the numbers, alright, we can see that they have the same x coordinates this time. Alright, they have the same x coordinates. The differences, now if we look at their y's, their y coordinates are opposites. Y coordinate, I'm going to shorten that, opposite. Hopefully you can read this. This box doesn't want to work with me today. We're going to skip the next two, and now we're going to look at the relationship between the two. So we're looking at which way is it reflecting. So if we're going from A and we're going down to C, we are now reflecting, but now we're reflecting over the x-axis. So here in this box we're going to put reflected over the x-axis. Okay. And now if we look at the last one, if we're looking at A and D, and we're looking at these points, some similarities, so the numbers are different. You know, we see that one is positive, one's negative, but if you remember absolute value, both of these have the same absolute value, so that's what we're going to put in this box. Both coordinates have the same absolute value. Right? Differences, both x and y are opposites, so we can say x and y are opposites. And then if we look at the relationship between the two of them, so now, you could move two different ways to get from A to D. You could go over the y and then over the x, or you could say over the x and then over the y. So we're going to say that the points, these were reflected over the x and y axis. Alright, you could go in either direction. So you could put or y and x. Okay? So that's all we're going to look at on this page. Now we're going to flip over to the next page where it says your turn. And it says that in each column, write the coordinates of the points that are related to the given point by the criteria listed in the first column. So we're going to skip this column, the first column, and the last column actually. We're just going to do the middle two. So I'm going to call -2, 4. We're going to have to plot it on the graph. I'm going to call this A. So plot -2 up to 4 on the graph, and this is A. And then 3, -2, I'm going to call B. So over to 3, down to -2. This is B. So you can ignore those other points that are on there already. We're not going to use those. So they're asking us to write the ordered pairs based off of what they told us to do. So if we take point A and we reflect it over the x-axis, so I'm jumping over here, right? You can see that we end up here at point 2, 4. So that's what goes in the box, 2, 4. Alright, so that's point A. The next one says reflected across the y-axis. So if we take A and we go across the y-axis, so now we're going down here. Oh, I did these backwards. Oh man, I gotta go back. Cancel. I already did the y-axis. I wrote it in the wrong box though. Alright, let's go back to the x-axis. So the first one, if we go across the x-axis, I got too excited. That means we're going down this way from A. And we're going to end up down here at -4, or -2, -4. So that's what goes in this first box here. -2, -4. When we go across the y-axis, like we already did, that's when we got that 2, 4. Alright, now if we reflect first across the x, so down, and then across the y, so to the right, we're going to end up, we got to add another line here, over here, which is at 2, -4. And then if we go first across the y-axis, so to the right, and then across the x, and then down, we would also end up at 2, -4. Alright? So that's all it's asking you to do. So if you look at these last two, you'll see that they're the same point, and that's because you can go in either order and it will end up in the same place. So now let's look at B. I'm going to do B in blue here. So first it says to reflect across the x-axis. So I'm going to go up here, and that's going to get me at 3, 2. So that's what I'm going to put in the box here. 3, +2. Oh, I lost my line. Alright, now if I reflect across the y-axis, I'm going to go across to the left here. And I need to be 3 units on the other side over there. So that gets me at -3, -2. And now if I go across the x, so up and then across the y, that gets me over here in the second quadrant, which is at -3, +2. And then my last one, if we go across the y, so to the left and then across the x, I end up at the same point, -3, 2. Alright. These questions here at the bottom, it's just kind of asking you what do you observe here about these? I want you to try these two, A and B, on your own. Alright? And we'll go over it in class, so just try your best to see what you can find, and then we will go over the answers in class together.